means and what are the benefits of it, how do you use it. We'll actually start the simulation session maybe a couple of weeks later, but this will be an introduction so that you are familiar with it. You will get some login accounts, you will be able to play with it. You'll be able to play with it, and then once you're ready, we'll actually give you a business simulation session as well. Right, I think we'll 3 activities planned for today. We'll just wait for the first speaker to be here. We should be around in a couple of minutes. All right.
Startup companies actually set up their first shop here. So,
too close to my mic.
having their first, they are born here. Okay. So, when they graduate from here, that means they are successful in some sense. So they go out, take their own space, and then take more people, and then they actually grow up like and on their journey to become bigger companies and so on. So this particular center is the largest academic incubator in the country. So there are about 45 companies in this facility. There are one on this floor, one floor below. So you can see that there is very idea stage companies. That means no company will have a separate board of their own. So 3-4 people sitting, together on a specific idea, along with all other people who are working on their own ideas. Okay, so this is called what we call as the launch pad. So this launches the ideas, launches the companies. So that's the launch pad. Followed by that is slightly bigger companies. Companies that have actually decided what they want to do. Their idea is matured, and then they exactly know what they want to do. Okay? So that's when they move on to real incubation space. So typically most of these incubation incubated companies will have their own designated places. So their own small room or big room depending on the size of the company. So a few people, like 5 to 10 people, 15 people actually work in those incubated companies. So that's the second stage. And the third stage is like you also, after incubation, you can get more funding and then rent a place within this facility and then actually run your operations. So that's a commercial space where it's typically like you rent some square feet and then you actually start operating from this that facility. So these are the 3 stages that what we have. And incubation stage is the most important one. Srinivas will talk about it in the second session. So what are the facilities that are given to the companies here, including not only the space, some other facilities like the common internet, secretarial support, accounting, finance support, and so on and so forth, along with funding. And they also get funding if they are selected, if their ideas are selected. And then the process by which some of the companies are shortlisted and they are given some funding. Okay, so that's the seed money that they get. So that's also a time where they get lots of mentorship. Not only by the people who are resident entrepreneurs within the facility, the managers of the facility, but also people from outside. Okay, there's a mentor network that what we have, and then within that, using that mentor network, we provide those facilities to the startups. So that's what you'll hear more about some of these models in the next 2 sessions. But essentially, this will give you an idea about what an incubator will look like. So we'll have the tour of that maybe after the second session, before lunch. Okay? So now that the first speaker is here, Srini Koppolu, I invite him to take him. So as he comes, maybe I'll say a few words about his journey into entrepreneurial ecosystem, just to give you some reading.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So after Murali mentioned about his role at Microsoft and bringing Microsoft to India. And then actually that kind of caused a lot of, Hyderabad was kept in the world map of IT because Microsoft came here first. Earlier, there were no big companies that came. So, but after spending a lot of time building this company, building India's R&D center for Microsoft, Srini kind of moved on. He funded several companies, both in India as well as in the US. Along with that, he also plays a very active mentorship role in all the companies that he invests. So there are companies in various places, but one company that is closely associated with is Setu Software, which was actually born here. So that is another reason why I wanted to mention that like this incubator, companies that are incubated here would actually, if they can attract a mentor like Srini Koppolu, their journey will be different. Right? They actually, people like Srini will actually take them to the next orbit and then provide necessary mentorship support so that they can become more successful later on. Right? So he's a very active angel investor as well as the Hyderabad Angels president currently. So does lots of activities related to supporting the startups in and around Hyderabad as well as outside. Great. Thanks and ask you to say.
First grade. Are you happy to be here? Everyone is looking tired and bored. I guess early morning. So, what I would like to do is spend less time on talking and maybe try to get a lot of questions from you and answer them. Are you guys going to ask a lot of questions? Yes. So let's see how it goes. So I guess it depends on what information I share. Hopefully that'll trigger some thought process. So what I thought is I'll do talk about a little bit about my background, and then connect it to some of the challenges that entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs face. And then my main focus of this talk is supposed to be about how the funding takes place, what are the systems that are in place which can help startups, and then take questions. Is that okay? Masu briefly introduced me, and so I want to go through some of my background, which is unlikely person to get into technology. So I'm from a very small town, Kalongo, and throughout my high school all the way up to engineering college, Telugu medium student, and my bachelor's in engineering was in mechanical engineering, nothing to do with computer science. Never seen these computers throughout my bachelor's degree. And then after going to US to do masters in computer science, that time it started picking up the momentum. So that's when I went to US, that's when first time I came to know anything about computers per se. Never seen anything before. Even there in college, we learned the whole thing about computer science, but never seen a PC. So when I joined Microsoft, that's when first time, again after my master I joined Microsoft. When I joined Microsoft, that's the first time I saw a PC and used it. And that's how my journey started. Couple of things I want to touch upon during this stage. So since I was from mechanical engineering, when I joined computer science masters, so I had to learn everything from scratch about computer science, the basic foundational courses. So after the first semester, when I learned about programming course and something about networking. So in the second semester, I had an idea about how to improve one of the protocols in networking area. So And I went to my professor and told him this is an interesting idea, we should think about it. So the networking professor said, don't waste your time, it's not going to work. But I went ahead and then whatever I learned in one semester before, I went ahead and actually wrote up a program to simulate the new protocol that I was thinking of, and then gathered all the data about how it is going to behave in various different environments, very different loads, and then came back with the results and showed to the professor that okay, this actually works better than the existing ones. That's when we decided to publish a paper, and we did that. And then later, after I graduated from masters, I got jobs from multiple companies. I chose Microsoft, of course. Then I went to present this paper in Boston. So one of the companies, I didn't take a job. The guy from the company came and attended the conference, listened to it, and then just came to say hi. So that's one of the most memorable things I remember in my life. The second interesting that happened was, so one of the top venture capitalist companies called Axel Partners sent me a letter while I'm in the job, saying that if you want to start a company using the technology that you developed, we'll be ready to fund you. So the challenge, the issue was, I didn't know what the hell VC means at that time. I was like, what is venture capitalist? And why are they even sending this letter? So I thought, put it aside because I have a good job with Microsoft. I don't want to take any chances. So that's how it, so I don't know what the journey would have been for me if I went the other way. So the reason why I'm telling you is, now you guys, at this young age, will be knowing everything about entrepreneurship, VCs, angels, everything else. So you are incredibly well equipped with lots of knowledge. It's a question of, if you really want, I'm assuming that since you are attending this class, you are interested in it. And then when you really stumble upon something that you want to do and go about and building a company, so you have all the information that you need. So that's what we're trying to give you now. So there's another thing that's happening is, there's a big cultural shift. So your generation you don't have to worry about safety net. You don't have to worry about job guarantee, nothing. So because you are at a stage where your parents have a stable environment, they can support you however long you want to pursue your dreams. So it's a completely different environment that you're in versus our generation and the previous generation. So the first generation out of India, there are two kinds. So companies that help build the nation, like Tatas and things like that, and companies that actually use the environment, got a lot of favors and build the big companies. So there are two kinds in that. The next generation, us, which is basically trying to find a basic, stable job so that we can have a predictable life. So your generation is completely different. So you have greatest opportunity. Okay, so that I think you should make use of it. So after that, of course, in Microsoft, I worked for 10 years in US, came here in India to start the Microsoft India Development Center. Another 12 years here to build this out. Then I got into angel funding and startups and all that stuff. So that's how I don't want to go into details about Microsoft. So a couple of examples of what I've done with respect to angel investments. I'll talk about that. Before that, one question for you. So what's common between Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg?
They dropped out of college.
Okay. Good. Anything else?
They're all entrepreneurs.
Yeah, of course, that's good. What else? So obviously you don't want to take out the message that you have to drop out of college to be successful. But more importantly, they're incredibly smart. They have a great combination of technical skills and business sense. At the time they dropped out, they were very, very, very strong in what they're doing. they're able to build system on their own. So Bill Gates, for example, was at that time in the smallest possible memory footprint, slowest possible processor, very high performing basic programming language that he developed by himself and his partner together. So they were incredibly good at what they're doing. So whatever typical person learns in an undergrad or maybe a master, they already know by that time. Across the board, all three are the same time. They're highly knowledgeable. So dropout is the last thing that you want to remember. What you want to remember is how much they know, how they're able to build single-handedly, whatever the kernel, what are the core of their companies by themselves. So that's the key message you want to take, which is the time to think of course, when you have such a great idea and you want to explore, it's hard to continue to study, so that's why they drop out. But the key point is you have to be very, very, very strong in the area. So it could be, many kids these days talk about doing MBA, not MBA, business administration in bachelor's. My strong advice is against that, because you have to be good in a core subject. Business administration more of a master's thing. You have to be core in one subject, you have to be technically strong, and you need to have experience. Only think about business administration. You cannot be a CEO of the company without having core foundation in something. That's very, very important. Okay. So, compared with all these three guys, there's one more thing interesting about Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and Mark also, which is, so they build platforms. They didn't build one product. They built platforms which gave the basically foundations for the companies that they developed to continue to evolve and enable multiple different usage models, and then huge impact across the world. So the thought process is incredibly big. They're not talking about, okay, how do I quickly build this, sell it, and make some money. So I know about Bill Gates very well. They never bother. I know he's the richest person in the world. Money is the last thing that they care about. So based on whatever we read about Steve Jobs, same thing. Mark Zuckerberg, you would have heard, right? That guy is never cared about money. He's like, I want to be the most, I want to build the most powerful platform or environment where the whole world use my software, my product. So that's the dream. All three of them, most of them, they have that lessons about making money. So that passion is incredibly powerful. That's what the thing is. So whenever you think about building products, companies, it's about, okay, you're trying to go after a mission, you have a vision, and it's not about, as part of the plan, how do I first opportunity, how do I exit from this? As a founder, you should be the last person to think about exiting your company. So you should be so incredibly attached to what you're developing. You should feel like it's my baby. So only then, with that passion, you're going to work hard, you're going to work smart, you'll be open to changes, which are all important aspects of being a successful entrepreneur. So around the same time, you have other people, of course. Larry Ellison, the Oracle CEO, you guys know, right? So he built databases, biggest database product, and he also is, by the way, dropout. Then we have Intel's Gordon Moore, his master's, PhD, so incredibly smart guy in the chemistry field. So we have, of course, Amazon guy, Jeff Bezos. He's also studied well. So for all the examples of dropouts, we have counter examples of people who completed their college and then build interesting companies. Amazon is another classic example in this stage. So he started as a book selling company. Okay. But he wanted to be the best book selling company in the new paradigm. So laser sharp focus on how do you make it very, 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 very efficient. So he started from book selling company to e-commerce platform where you sell all kinds of products, to evolve it to further to the most important cloud computing platform. So before I say anything, I want to ask one question. How many people understand computers, technology? You heard about all these names or not? Yes? Raise your hands, please. Okay, that's good. I'm not talking some things which are relevant. Okay. So, again, I don't know, you'll be shocked to know that Amazon started, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 2001. So they don't make profit. They still lose money. But investors continue to believe how big this company is going to be in future. They continue to invest in this. And obviously, of course, he's a listed company, and then Wall Street guys and everybody still like this stock because the potential that is there in this company is going to be unlocked in future. So incredibly powerful. So I want to talk about one company first and then come to other ones. Before that, there is actually one kind which is technology-focused company, technology-centric company, where you have something unique and you have a model to leverage this unique technology to build a big product or big business. So that's one angle. The other kind is businesses which has a scale potential. So technology, once you guys kind of know, right? Once you have a great technology, you are seeing enough examples of with good technology, with a good business model, how some of the companies are being successful. But the other one you kind of know, but let me give some details about that. So the businesses that have scale potential, where typically they'll be consumer facing. So the example I want to give and where I invested, how it worked out is, how many people have seen MedPlus Pharmacy? Somewhere on the streets, or you would have walked in also, right? So this founder of this company, he's a Wharton graduate. He's a doctor, MBBS doctor in India, and then never practiced medicine, but after a while doing so few businesses, he went to US and got his MBA from Wharton. So I met him in the very, very early stage. How I met him is, so my friend is common to him, basically. Me and this founder have a common friend. So this common friend asked me to sit down and listen to this founder's pitch and give him advice. So to whether to invest or not. So I was just supposed to be an observer in a meeting. So this founder came and talked. There is no PowerPoint, nothing. So he came and talked about what his idea is. So how he is going to be unique. And then what are the innovative things he's doing. So it's a half an hour meeting. So after that, I advised my friend to invest, and I also decided to invest. So that's it, nothing else. There is no long process on trying to figure out what to do anything. This is in 2006. So the company didn't even start at that time. It's like a registered company. Operations haven't begun. So within 9 months, he opened 100 stores in Hyderabad, which is amazingly, great accomplishment. Operationally, that's a huge challenge. So now they have 1,000 stores across India. So it is in 6 years they reached that milestone. Okay, so what this business is all about scale. Okay, you prove the model like in one shop, one location, one city, and then you start scaling up. So when I say prove the model, you have just heard about unit economics. So for these kind of things, first the business has such a big demand that you can create multiple units of this kind across the country. That opportunity should exist in the business. So then first, that's the important point. That's what attracted me to invest. Because if you get it right, there is a potential to scale it up in a big way. Now we are 1,000, but if you look at pharmacies across India, there's probably 5,000, 10,000. So it still has a huge potential to continue to grow. So this is network economy, what a network effect, whatever it is you can call it. So same thing you see in a different way in internet. Okay, if you can create an attractive business model for your target audience, and especially your target audience are consumers, then as you know, right, we have 6 billion or probably 8 billion population now across the world. And so if you are going to be attractive for 1,000 people, 10,000 people, 1 million people, you reach 1 million mark, then you have something which has a potential to grow and reach probably 50 million, 100 million. So the key is to figure out how do you make what are you creating interesting, attractive, relevant, value generating offering the people that you're targeting. So as both, even though this is a physical environment, internet model actually applies here. So basically when I say unit economics, first you need to make sure in one single store, your operational cost should be recovered very quickly. So you need to be very clear about what is the cost of running this one store in 1 month. Okay, and how much sales you can make. So can your sales, revenue and the profit that you make on that revenue can be more than the cost that you spend. So in this case, for example, without going into many details, for example, in each store he has to have 2 people. Okay, then he has to maintain the inventory, all the medicine that you keep in the stores. So there is a cost of inventory. So inventory, people don't give you, you're not making the medicines, you're buying from somebody, so they don't give it for free. That means you have to spend money to buy it. So there's a cost of inventory, which is an important thing to remember. Okay, so your operation cost of inventory, and then people plus utilities, you need to add up everything and make sure that, and then, okay, if I make this much revenue, everything that I sell in a month, what is my profit margin? So that you need to understand. So then you take the profit that you make based on the revenue and compare it with cost of operations. The 2 people, electricity, cost of inventory, you basically compare these two. So then how quickly can you reach a break-even point where the whole cost of operations is less than the profit that you make. So in this business, typical average break-even point is in 6 months. So now the question is, you need to balance how many can you open with the money that you got, investment that you're getting, while continuing to basically grow the business in each individual sockets and continue to balance your cost of operations versus profit. So at unit level, you need to be very clear. You need to know absolutely what the model, what the economics is, and you need to be absolutely clear about how long it takes to reach whatever break-even point, and is it workable for your business model. That's what you need to understand. So most of these things will have administrative overhead over and above each individual unit. So for example, I have 100 stores in Hyderabad. In addition to whoever I deploy in each individual store, I need to keep somebody above. Okay, the manager or retail head, or whatever you want to call it. You need to also deploy people who run around and supply. So that's stuff above the individual unit. Then of course you have corporate level, your CEO, business development, sales and marketing, bunch of different people, and then warehouse costs, bunch of those things will be above. So initially, for a growing business like this, you don't need to worry about that, because from 1, if you go to 100 to 200 to 500, that cost which we are talking about overhead, the corporate cost, that's what we call it. You can get distributed across all these units. It becomes smaller and smaller and smaller because you have more and more and more units here. So ultimately that will go away. It will not be a big issue. That's why typically we don't worry about corporate overhead on this kind of business model. The most important thing is what is the unit level economics is and how long it takes to reach the break-even point. On the other hand, technology businesses, Facebook, Twitter are the two examples that you guys know and use. So both of them, everybody knows that once there is a certain point. For example, when Mark started this in Harvard, I don't think that many people would have invested confidently. But when it moved from Harvard to many other campuses, it started becoming for more people, interesting for more people. When it started reaching audience outside the campuses, then it's real. No, million plus 2 million people using it, and then day after day spending a lot of time. That means this has the potential to reach billions. So that the moment they come to that realization, people don't worry about how much revenue you are making in this company today, because they know ultimately 3, 4, 5, 6 years, 7 years down the road, you're going to make money. So that's why you see when you look at Facebook investment history, a lot of people would have spent money every year. These guys raised hundreds of millions of dollars along the way without making single dollar of revenue. The whole revenue stream started for Facebook maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when they started introducing advertisements. Initially, the founder was completely against doing any advertisement, because they were just focused on, okay, I want to get as many users as possible. So in the technology products, actually consumer-facing internet products, revenue can come later. On the other example that I gave, so from day one, you need to be very clear about what is your unit economics. Otherwise, you can't scale. So these are the two contrasting examples to think about. So in between things like enterprise software and other things come into picture, which is very difficult to sell. To create maybe relatively okay, but difficult to sell. So that's another thing to keep in mind. This is from the technology point of view. Now we go to, when I say technology, let me take the word back. This is about software related products. So if you go to other products, so of course you have biotechnology, genetics, and then clean energy, bunch of other areas where it is not going to be that easy as it is to develop a software product, because talent availability is going to be an issue, because if you can find a lot of people in computer science software, but in the other field, good solid guys, hard to find. Upfront investment is very high, so you need to invest in big time in the whole machinery that you require. Then, for example, you talk about clean energy. Let's say you're going after solar. Let's say you look at basically what is today's solar panel efficiency levels, and then you say, I want to dramatically improve. So you need to do a lot of R&D in materials research you need to do. That requires a lot of investment. So some of these fields require big investment, but because of that, they require investment and time, which is both. Because of that, actually, finally, when you crack it, you have huge advantage. Because for somebody else to replicate what you're doing, they need to go through the whole cycle. One, they need money, they need time. Time is even more. Then by the time, let's say the other guy tries to copy you, or they want to invent something similar, and it takes typically, let's say, 18 months, or 2 years, or 3 years. The longer it is, the better for you. So, you can meanwhile, you will be launching your product, other guy will be starting now. Even if they catch up to you where you are today, you will be 18 months, 2 years ahead of them. So there's a built-in advantage in these areas, because it takes time, it requires a lot of talent, and it requires a lot of capital. So given that in these areas, if we come up with something big, you will be the actually leader for a long, long, long time. That's the advantage in this field. In the other areas, software, relatively easy to catch up these days. But on the other hand, it has all the counter things which are all advantages. See, almost zero cost these days to develop software, and so to market, especially internet products, again, relatively easier because you have this whole World Wide Web available to you. They're well-established strategies that you can follow. So the software, and then talent. You get a lot of people these days. I mean, so as you guys know, in this building, there are like 40 companies. Okay, so that's just in Hyderabad in one building. So now imagine world over how many companies are there. Just 2 to 3 people come together and build something, and then it becomes big. So, but at the end of the day, if you want to be an entrepreneur, there is no specific time. It could be, so we have extreme examples of a kid from Canada, I think, or UK, I don't remember. So who is 13 to 16 years old, and he started a company. Yeah, Samli? No, yeah, Samli UK guy. So 16 years old, sold it for $30 million to Yahoo. What have we developed? So we have extreme examples like that. So, and then we know the famous dropouts from college examples. But majority of the people complete, graduate, and then either do it right after, or they work for some many years, suddenly they find something interesting and they do it. So at the end of the day, you have to be solving a problem that the customers actually need to be solved. So whatever you're working on has to actually be relevant, useful, meaningful, and solve a real world problem. That's very, very important. Only then you have any hope of building a successful company. So this is a typical scenario. So there are cases where, of course, these people, we call them visionaries, whatever, they think ahead, look ahead, and say, if I only build, I can train the audience. I can actually get the people to use my product and actually benefit from that. So that is, that's not so common. But typically, when you build a company, you're typically trying to solve a real world problem the customers are facing. Whoever your customers are. It could be kids like you, or general consumers, enterprise customers, or other businesses using your platform. It could be anybody, but you're solving a real problem. Otherwise, I mean, even with that, you'll have a lot of challenges in actually meeting the people, convincing them, making them understand what your product. I'll give you our example. Vasu and us, we are working on this new product called Views, which is in the social media space. Okay. It's like an incredibly powerful platform, and then it has great features, everything. We build a whole product. We still trying to figure out how do you position it. Okay, so I mean, people think if I have technology and then it's ready to go. No. So a lot of things have to come together. So first of all, we need to be clear who we are targeting, what is the message. Because the reason is, I'm not going to sit in front of you and tell you what my product is, because I don't have that luxury. My customer is sitting somewhere in the world in front of a computer, and the moment they see our product, with the messaging that we have, the user interface that we have, anything, they need to understand what it is. But if it requires tutorial, or if it requires somebody sit in front of them and explain to them, you're not going anywhere. So it's not just technology. It's not just product what you build. The overall story. Okay, who is your audience? What problem you are solving? How are you communicating that you are solving that problem? All these are important. Then comes in all the business model issues I talked about. So many things have to come together to actually be able to build a very successful company. Okay, but as I said, any one of you can start a company, especially in technology space, because you have all the resources available, very easily available at your hand. Now I lead this into the funding, okay, which is one of the important resources. So funding, there are multiple stages of funding that's available. Typically, when somebody starts a company, 2 or 3 people get together and they ask their parents or friends and family for some money and start with that. And they build the story. I'm using the word story because, so okay, what am I building? How do I communicate what this is about? That story they need to develop. They do that. And if it's technology product, they'll have early prototype. Okay? And which is when they can, so it all then depends on who is the main guy who is pitching. So some people can actually show the whole future which is 10 years out. Some people are terrible at explaining what they're building, even though they may have a very powerful product. So that's an important skill, to be able to articulate what are you trying to create and how big this is going to be, what's the potential. It's about, so to do that you need to have a big vision, big picture. You need to think long term. You cannot be thinking about, okay, I'm doing it now, next year it'll be here and I'm going to sell. That's not going to convince anybody. It's going to be long term perspective and scale potential. Both of them incredibly important. So how it's going to evolve over the n number of years, how big it's going to be. If you can nail those two aspects, you'll get people excited. Okay, so this is very, very important. So now you build a prototype and you have this vision and strategy, and then that's when you can start talking to people outside your circle, immediate circle. So that's when the so-called angel investment communities comes into picture. So the angel investors could be individuals. The example that I gave of MedPlus, where on my personal capacity I invested, or it could be angel networks. So in India we have many angel networks. In Hyderabad we have Hyderabad Angel Network, and India Angel Network is the first one to come into existence. Then Mumbai Angel Network. Like now every city that you can think of, there is at least one, if not more. So they are slightly different. So if I go and meet a person, individual, I can take a gut call. If I like the entrepreneur and if I like the idea, I can decide if I'm investing in an individual capacity. I might take a risk, much higher risk, and then make a gut call. But on the other hand, if you go to the network, it's a collective decision. So which is much more formal. It will be fast, but it will be much more formal. Multiple people need to be convinced. It's a good thing for entrepreneurs, also a bad thing, because it might take some time, you may not get the funding, but good thing because enough due diligence happens, multiple people are asking you about your business or your technology or strategy, different questions are coming, so it helps you think. So the more opportunity that you get to pitch your idea and to the right people, that's very, very important. So the better chance you have actually defining your business strategy, your idea, because you're learning a lot. Every meeting of that kind is a learning experience. So very, very important to keep that in mind. But you have to figure out who are the right people to meet. So again, in the angel networks, there are many networks which you're going to be useless for you. But for example, Hyderabad Angel Network, given the composition of the people, many of them are from technology background, many of them are first-time entrepreneurs. People who come, even if they don't get funded, they learn a lot. So that's the angel stage. Then between friends and family and angel, there is some new thing that started about 6 years ago called accelerators. Okay. So the accelerator, the idea is there is a fixed space in which probably, let's say, anywhere from 10 to 100 people can actually be accommodated. It's one open area, and then they run a program. So each program will be typically 3 months long or 4 months maximum, 3 to 4 months long. So the program starts at one day, whatever that day is, and then to enter into the program, selection will be there. So lots of startups who are interested into getting into the accelerator, they apply, they get interviewed, blah blah, everything happens, and the selected list could be 10, 4 or 3 or 10, 15, whatever the number is, they all enter this accelerator at the same time, one day. And then they go through this program for 3 months. So when I say program, it's not like somebody making you sit in the classroom and teach you. That's not that. So you are developing your product, you are developing your idea, So, as you're doing the same thing as you would have done outside. But periodically, people will come. For example, mentors will be available in that building. So whenever you have something to brainstorm, you can basically book a time, go meet the mentors. Mentors are very, very experienced people who have been a successful entrepreneurs or failed entrepreneurs with a massive amount of learning. Those will be the mentors. So you can book a slot, appointment, and meet them when you want. That's one thing. Second thing is periodically, once in 2 weeks, these guys create a learning event. So all of you come together and then they actually make you understand some aspects of this. Then they help you with refining your business model if you need help. So there are lots of these things happen over 3 months while you are developing your product in that space. So at the end of 3 months, these accelerator guys invite venture capitalists or angel networks to come and listen to the pitch of these 20, 30, 40 companies. So that if any one of them like any one of these ideas, so they can go to the next stage. But end of 3 months, you have to get up. So this is so these accelerators who provide this kind of environment, so they take small amount of equity in your company. They also give small amount of funding. So they basically in a very structured manner with a highly efficient set of resources, if it people, money, whatever it is, and they're helping you evolve your idea. So that's the accelerator model. So the most successful accelerator is called Y Combinator. It's in Bay Area. So that guy, Twitter is also, I think, came out of that. So it's a lot of big companies. Dropbox came out of that. Yeah. You guys know about Dropbox? Anybody uses it? Okay, good. So that came out of Y Combinator. So there are a lot of successful ones like that. So that if a good accelerator is going to be an incredible value add for any entrepreneurs. If you are able to get it a good accelerator. So across the level, it's the same thing. Good angel network, good individual angel, good accelerator, good VC. They all can make a big difference to the entrepreneurs. So it's also very, very important. Like the way you hire the employees into your company, you're going to be incredibly selective about who you want to be part of your company. That's as an entrepreneur, that has to be very well thought through. You can't randomly grab somebody you can get. So you have to hire the right people. Same thing, you have to connect with the right angel networks, right VCs, right accelerators. So that's very, very important. So you are making the decisions for the success or failure of the company by making these choices. So that's very, very important to remember. So after the accelerator, as I told you, angel networks come into picture. After the angel networks, then the VCs. So I'll also talk about the amount of money typically angel networks give, VCs give, whatever. Then after venture capitalists come, depending on how the business is going to evolve, if this is going to be one of the things which has potential to go IPO, typically more and more VCs, the same VCs that already invested will continue to invest, or additional new VCs come in. But if directionally it is going to take a while to go to IPO or there's no clarity, there's sometimes PE funds come into picture, private equity funds. Okay, so private equity funds come into picture. Okay, I'll talk about each stage now. So angel investment, angel networks especially, will look at the companies after the actual product idea is proven in a small scale. Okay, so for example, I talked about MedPlus example where you should have proven the unit economics. Okay, the way it happened is exception, but normally it doesn't happen that way. So he should have started a few stores, 5-10 stores, and then shown that okay, you can actually prove the unit economics. Then angel networks can come and invest. Okay, or you have a technology idea and you build a nice prototype, or and then you made it available on the net, and few customers started coming in, playing with it, and you're seeing good feedback. So you don't need to have millions. Even if you have 100 customers, 100 users, but the feedback is good, then product looks great, then angel networks can come in. Okay, so early stage angel networks will come in when this concept is not on paper, instead it's got translated into actually implementable idea, and then you have early results, either customer feedback or revenue, whatever it is. Then after that, and then typically angel networks invest anywhere from 50 lakhs to 2 crores rupees in your company. So typically angel networks don't go beyond 2 crores. That's very rare. Then VCs come into picture after you scale it up with a significant size, and then you're able to show that you can deal with the scale, and whatever the hypothesis was at the concept level is actually proven at a bigger scale. So if you again go back to MedPlus example, we should have had probably 100 plus stores in 1 or 2 cities, and then things are looking good and you can show that you're able to manage the operations. If you can go to technology example, you actually have probably maybe 100,000 plus users, and you have a good focus, which countries you're going to target, and what kind of vertical or consumers, or is there a segmentation that you're going after? For example, somebody can say, my internet product is only going to target babies, or it's women-centric, or it is only for teenagers. So that kind of focus is important, and you have enough audience. So VCs will come into picture if you have this reasonable scale, and all the data looks good, and from here, you know, it's a question of pumping more money and continue to scale it. So in that stage, VCs come into picture. Okay, as I said, then later, so the company reaches a stage where revenue is coming in and overall looks stable, but further growth is not clear to go towards IPO direction. It is a good, solid, stable company, but it's not like Facebook, which is continuing to grow. So in those cases, some PE funds might come in and say, okay, safe bet, it's steady revenue. So let me, PE funds typically will not bet on early stage. They put the money on a proven business model typically. So where the revenues are already in. So there are the various levels. So at the end of all this, what I want to say is, funding is the last thing that you need to worry about as an entrepreneur. So you don't need to write anything down. So you get the money. So the most important thing that you need to worry about is, okay, what is my idea? How unique it is? Okay, what is the impact it's going to have? And then, am I clear about who my target audience are? Am I solving their real problem? Okay, and so these are the things that as an entrepreneur you have to focus. Okay. And then, of course, right when you start, you might have a little bit difficulty if the friends and family is not able to support you. But after that stage, there is enough funding opportunities for you. So that's the story. But most important thing is, you can do this at any stage in your life. Okay, you can become an entrepreneur at any stage in life. But most important thing for you is to be, and for lack of better word, I use expert. Be strong in an area. So where you need to have a deep knowledge. You need to be really good. So don't be superficial about, I learned this much of this much of this. Oh, that guy did a internet portal. Okay, let me copy it. So those are not going to take you anywhere. So you need to be strong. You need to have deep knowledge in some area, whatever that area is. So education gives you that. So don't think about dropping out. So go through your bachelor's degree minimum. There will be exceptions. If you have 1 million people going through bachelor's degree, there are 1 or 2 people, few people who have such a great idea, they can't wait. they have to drop out. So they will be there. But general audience, most of you should be completing your bachelor's degree. And then that should not be BBA. That's my personal opinion. That should be in some core subject. Could be chemistry, physics, computer science, material sciences, you pick genetics. So in a core domain. So they develop a deep knowledge. Then the most important thing I forgot to mention. So inquisitiveness. Okay, every day. You don't have to be an entrepreneur, but this skill, it is very, very important in whatever you do. From even today, you're looking at something. So the question is why it has to be that way. That you need to keep asking. Can I make it better? Can something, not necessarily me making better, can that be better, done better? So that thought process is what ultimately leads you to become an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurship is not about starting a new product. So innovation, instead of entrepreneurship, I'll use the word innovation. Innovation is not about starting always new product, new thing. It's significant number of times about making the current thing better. Okay, so when people talk about big companies, they say, oh, they're not innovating. The Microsoft is one example, IBM is one example, HP and all those things. They are innovating day in and day out. They are improving many things. They are improving existing products. They are improving existing processes. Okay, so it could be leading towards cost savings, leading towards better customer experience, leading towards great features. So as an individual, you need to think about, okay, how can I make this better? How can that can be done better? The most important thing. If you can't do that, it's hard for me to imagine you becoming an entrepreneur. So I'll leave it with that, and then if you have any questions, I'll answer. Yes. Oh, no. You did that. So I thought you were about to ask. Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, what's the most important part of being an entrepreneur? Like, what's the most important thing?
No, I want you to answer. Otherwise, I wasted my whole 1 hour. So you answer.
Like, they look at what they can make better, and they don't focus on funding. They focus on like the ideas, and funding comes automatically.
No, not automatically.
Like, naturally.
Yeah. Okay. There are enough resources for funding. Yeah. You have to worry, obviously, but you don't have to worry that much. The first thing is about idea. Yeah. Okay. So no, entrepreneur, that's only, I will add to that. It's about, okay, that passion. Okay, the passion is not about, okay, how do I make buck? How do I make a bunch of money and exit this business? Then you're not being a true entrepreneur. The passion is about, okay, I'm creating something important and solving real problems. So that should be the exciting part. So if you have that passion, you don't think about how do I make money in this. That will happen ultimately. You are passionate about solving real world problems which generates value, ultimately money will come. So you have to be very, very passionate about, and you need to, when you're passionate, you work really hard, you won't give up easily, and then you also need to be open to feedback, because based on your experience, your ideation, your thought process will go in one direction. So when you're talking to a good set of people and you start getting feedback, so the important balance you need to strike. So there are some kind of people who take any feedback they get and immediately try to apply it, which is bad. Because then you don't have a conviction about what you're trying to do. So you need to have strong conviction about what you're trying to do. But there are other kinds of people, no matter what feedback is given, they don't take it. Incredibly dogmatic. That's also bad. So you need to have conviction about your idea, but you need to be open to feedback. So whenever you find a good feedback, you should be like incredibly thankful to that person that he gave that good feedback, which actually transformed what you're trying to do. So many breakthroughs happen that way. So that balance is very important. Don't be in either extremes. Next question. So
So one quick.
Anybody, how many of you want to do computer science? Yeah, sir.
I have a small thought process. I just want to trigger to get
Yeah.
questions. So, in your view, do you think when would you think an idea is ready for investability? Right. So I have a couple of guys here who have some platforms ready, either a website or whatever. Some of guys are also looking at, how do I raise funding? So now, what do you think that a person or a company is ready for funding? Is there you look at some ABC, you have a team, you have this, you have that, and then your funding ready. Do you have anything like that, a recommendation for these guys for them to be, telling, yeah, I'm ready, now I'm mature enough to go for external funding?
So there are, few things that we look at. One is we have good team. The most important aspect, the founders. Okay, can we bet on these founders? Because many times the idea that you start with is not what ultimately you're going to be actually building the company on. The idea will evolve. But the founders, if they're really strong, they can actually receive the feedback and then self-learn. They actually understand what's going on in the industry, and whether it's through feedback or whether it's through their own self-learning, they'll evolve the idea. So we want to bet on the individuals first. Okay, and so most important thing is the meeting with the entrepreneurs. I need to feel convinced that these are the right person, right people, girl or a boy to invest on. Second thing is, okay, their idea. And third one is idea in the sense, okay, what is actually the big picture? Does it have potential, long-term potential? And then where are they today? So that long-term story has to be clear. Plus, okay, where are they today? What did they actually develop so far? Okay, and